never seen.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Bill here for Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time to finally get to the I Was There episode. Episode number 3, because it's the third concert I was ever at. We're going back to January 12th, 1985. Talk to you all about seeing Metallica, W.A.S.P, and Armored Saint. Of course, we'll go to talk about the show itself, but what I'd like to do with this episode is tell you about all the related stuff leading up to it. Usually some funny stuff, some great little memories to throw at you. Guys, I think you know what we do around here. We talk classic rock, we talk classic metal, and we drink. Since it's 5 a.m., it's coffee time. Today's pairing, people, a nice dark French roast. Since we're out of half and half, it's full on heavy cream and a little turbinado sugar. You may call it sugar in the raw. Love that stuff. Little piecemeal around here lately. Haven't done a big food order in weeks. So we got a store brand coffee that tastes delicious. Might have a dash of cancer in there, but so what? All right, starting to get fueled up now. All right, man, so let's go back a little bit. Let's go back almost a year before this show. My first show was Ozzy at the Spectrum, January 84. And honestly, one of the viewers actually after that episode commented the same, and I immediately replied, me too. Ozzy, even though he was my favorite when I went to that show, he was due to be dethroned, I had liked him for a year or two before Bark at the Moon came out, which was a little of a letdown. I was just ready for someone new to come along. And that happened about a month after the Ozzy show. February of 84, I heard, I used to tape Metal Shop. Not every time, but me and my next door neighbor, buddy Rick, best friend, he would tape it too. And this way, in case one of us missed it or fell asleep, we could listen to it. So I taped this third week or so of February. And they played Jump in the Fire. I remember it was probably, the show was on from midnight till 1:30. This was probably 1 in the morning. Jump in the Fire. And when it faded out, they played Rat's Lack of Communication, which I hadn't heard any Rat yet. That was my first taste of Rat. So nice 1-2 punch. Played the hell out of that tape, just those two songs. If you held the tape up, you could see that it was super dark. This one location where those two songs were. Just rewind, play. Loved it. I lent it to, Rick heard it the next day, blew his doors off. Lent it to Stan, the dude that asked me to go to Ozzy. He kind of was like, yeah, it's okay. I really like the Rat better. I couldn't understand that at all. Guys, this is middle school. I'm in 8th grade. I'm trying to spread the word about this band Metallica, based on one song. And I remember drawing Metallica or writing Metallica's name on my binder. I had a loose leaf binder. It was kind of like a denim cover. I think it had ZZ Top's logo from Eliminator drawn on it. But I remember writing Metallica, and because I hadn't seen it written down yet, I wrote it Metallicca. So I don't even know how to spell it yet. But that's how into them I was. I was already like drawing the logo, or not the logo, but writing the name places. So I went on like multiple rides with my mom to like department stores and record stores trying to find some Metallica. This is going over the next month maybe. And maybe the DJ might have said on Metal Shop that it was from Kill 'Em All. So I remember looking for Kill 'Em All. No luck on these random, drive-alongs. So about a month later, so now we're like March of 84. I tell my mom, look, I need you to just drive me to a specific store. So we actually set a night, it was like, I think it was like a Tuesday night after school, and then after dinner. She's like, I can drive you wherever after dinner. So after dinner was over, I picked up the Yellow Pages and started calling around the record stores and asking for Kill 'Em All. Did find one. It took 3 or 4 calls, but one that was actually kind of close to us, Sound Odyssey at Welsh and the Boulevard. Had it. I was basically begging, like, can you please put it behind the register? I'll be right over. Guy's like, no, we have a few. I don't need to hold it. You know, hung right up on me. Like, told my mom, like, get your ass in the car now. In my mind, they were going to sell out of these things before I got there because Metallica was so awesome, you know. So we get there. I was still a cassette guy at this point because I didn't have a phonograph in my room. I had a tape player. And I had a Walkman, so tapes were in. Go over to the tape wall. No tapes there. Over to the vinyl. They had 3 copies of the original, is it Megaforce vinyl, right? So, you know, all right, I'm not leaving without it. I'm grabbing the vinyl. So that was it. On home, get home. As soon as I get home, and it's like probably 8:30 at night, call my next door neighbor Rick. I'm like, I got to kill them all. Get over here. And his mom wasn't going to let him come out that late at night. So, you know, school night and all that. So she was pretty strict about times. And then even worse, you know, our stereo downstairs was in the dining room, which I guess at some point got wheeled from the living room into the dining room, you know. And my dad was still in the living room right next room over. So I couldn't even, I had listened to it, but I couldn't listen to it that loud. It was like so frustrating. So I ended up putting it on cassette that night, you know. And I don't even remember if I listened to it that night. I'm sure I did, up on my Walkman or whatever. But the very next day after school, Rick came over right away. There was no one else home. We got to play the vinyl in the dining room, blast it, and I mean blast that mother. Awesome time. It was official. Rick was blown away. I was blown away. Ozzy was dethroned. All right, it was official. I kind of knew it just from Jumping the Fire. But you know, how many times you get an album based on a great song and you know, overall album doesn't live up to expectations. This one more than did, right? All right, so that's, you know, March of '84. I'll try to get us to the concert soon. These videos are getting way too goddamn long. April of '84, maybe May, at some point right around there. I feel like it was April, but it could have been May. Sent off my money to join the Metal Militia. I think the info is on the inside of the sleeve of Kill 'Em All, right? What a complete half-assed affair. Now, it was a happy ending, I guess, in a way, but I sent off for this thing, like I said, in April or May. It was supposed to take 2 to 4 weeks or whatever. You know, May comes, June comes. It's like almost the end of June to where I somehow found the phone number. I don't know if there was a phone number in that inner sleeve, but somehow I found one and called them, told someone, you know, look, man, you know, what's going on? I sent this shit away like 2 months ago. And he's like, yeah, it'll be coming. A couple weeks goes by. I told my mom, like, you know, I sent for something. So my mom calls, you know, because one thing you weren't going to do is get over on her. So next thing you know, this thing appears like a week later. So I don't know if my mom had the magic touch or what. But this envelope, it was like a yellow envelope, but not like a bubble mail or just a regular yellow envelope. Everything shoved in it. I remember there being just like a single piece of paper, I think, newsletter, summer of '80, you know, summer news of Metallica, spring, summer. I don't even remember. That was kind of vague. That one actually just popped into my head right now. There was a bumper sticker, just Metallica, red logo on black background, and the actual version of this phony shirt I'm wearing, which was like olive green, you know, like military style. Same thing on the back. So that was great. That shirt was the shit, man. When I wore that to like school, high school, when I got there in a few months, you know, I never saw another one, I don't think, ever. Also, the only thing I have from it, guys, here's another thing I wore to the show and, you know, all around high school, hand painted myself. Somehow I kept this thing all these years. Just a black marker and then took some red paint and did the outline. So kind of cool. It's cool that I saved it. The reason I'm showing you this too, besides that awesomeness, is I think this is the button that came with it. Of course, I put this smiley face on it, like a stooge at some point. But there's the button that I'm pretty sure I got. The bumper sticker looked just like that. Kill 'Em All, I'm not sure if this one came with it. It could have. I don't really remember for sure. But these are all from back in the day. The only thing I'm 100% sure of is that this button came with joining the Metal Militia. All right, so that's probably like July. So we're getting towards the show. I'm trying to rush it up a little bit. So I think it was August, early August, the next month. Me and Rick took a bus all the way up to Oxford Valley Mall. You know, we were always trying to go to different malls, different record stores. I remember us walking down the mall towards one of the record stores. I couldn't tell you which one. They had a few there. And seeing Ride the Lightning up on the rack, like at the front of the store. Like new release rack. And it was at least one, if not two, racks of Ride the Lightning. And I just saw the logo. I had no idea it was coming out. I just saw the logo from like 40 feet away and like did a beeline for that album immediately in my hand. Like I didn't even want to look at anything else in the store. I didn't even want to look at anything else in the mall. Just wanted to go home and listen to this, which we did. It only confirmed how great Metallica was. It might not have been as great as Kill 'Em All, but it was pretty close, man. And I still kind of feel that way. Love both of those albums. September of '84, I get into high school. And in terms of heavy metal and fans, it really made middle school look like heavy metal kindergarten. So many dudes there that just knew a whole bunch of bands I never heard of. They knew all about every band I knew and stuff like that. Met a bunch of cool dudes that were actually, some of them were in a band called Messiah. They were Christian metal. But their music was good. They were heavy. But a bunch of cool dudes. This guy Jim, who's a guitarist, singer. This dude Rich, who became their singer during that point there, somewhere around there. Kevin was their drummer. All three of these guys went to my high school. And Kevin's dad was a preacher who had like Bible studies every week. These guys asked me and Rick to go to them, so we did. We started going to these Bible studies. Not every time. I feel like they were on like some kind of weeknight, you know, Tuesday or something. At the end of the month, right around there, March of the Saint came out, which I had pretty much right away. As far as W.A.S.P goes, you'd have to go back to like the summer. I feel like that was more like summer of '84, so maybe right before September. Rick was on top of the W.A.S.P situation. I never, to this day, I've never owned anything by W.A.S.P. I don't not like them. I just never felt the need to buy them, especially back at the time. That's kind of its own story in and of itself. I remember hearing, you know, F Like a Beast on Metal Shop, uncensored. And I think actually Rick taped that version, and I didn't hear that one. I might have heard it, I'm not even sure. But Rick taped it, and we played that song over and over for the next couple of weeks. And they played it, like I said, like uncensored. And I remember the DJs just like, there was two of them chuckling about it afterwards, saying, yeah, all we're doing is spinning records here, you know, trying to like pawn it off like it was no big deal when they knew it was, kind of thing. Now, we heard that song a bunch more times on Metal Shop, coming weeks and months, always censored after that. But they did play it once with the full-on deal. But Rick, I remember he had like bought an EP of that song, you know, the chainsaw coming through the crotch and all that. When the full album came out, he had that. Later on, he had the video. So Rick was on top of that. I never really felt the need to buy any W.A.S.P. But that's the W.A.S.P. Armored Saint Metallica fandom situation headed towards the fall. So we're at one of those Bible studies, and one of the dudes, when it was over, we used to hang out, and, you know, Kevin's mom would make some cookies or whatever, throw out some chips. We'd hang around and eat and talk music. And I remember someone said, yeah, Metallica's coming, you know, who wants tickets? So yes, please get me in there. So I remember later, a couple weeks later, another Bible study, or maybe at school, you know, someone saying, I'm pretty sure it was Rich, saying, I got his tickets, but they're in the balcony. I'm like, I could care less where they are. It could be on the roof. If I get to hear Metallica in person, you know, fine by me. I think it was around November of '84, Creepin' Death EP came out. I had that original John. Again, only further solidified. Like, Metallica could just do no wrong at this point, you know. This was the time to see it. If you were ever going to see Metallica, you know, 2 great albums and an awesome EP. So finally, the day of the show, Guys, we literally have to go from one end of the city to the other. And, you know, we had gotten rides to the Ozzy show, the Priest show I went to, but we were now going to just take the bus all the way to the L train and literally ride it from one end of the line all the way to the other. In the freezing cold, you know, January of 85. At night, obviously, I mean, it was getting dark at like 4:30 at that point, right? So we did. We got on a bus that was near Kevin's house. Took that for a 30 or 40 minute ride to the Frankfurt L, is what it used to be called. And literally drove that thing for like 70 minutes. Stopping at every stop and all that. Freezing, man. I mean, if there was any heat on that train, it was on like, you know, 40. But it was like 30 out. So it was just a cold ass ride. And especially when all you decide to wear is a long sleeve t-shirt underneath your denim vest. So it's kind of a crazy thing that I was even allowed to do this. Because, you know, my parents were familiar with the L. Driving through downtown Philly, through Kensington, through West Philly. I mean, it was kind of crazy. You know, I guess because I was with 3 other dudes. But I was like 14 and they were like 15, you know. It's not like we were like, you know, 20 or something. Anyway, it was kind of a scene out of Warriors. All right, so get to the tower. Like I said, it's just a few blocks from the border. It's all the way, just a few blocks from the end of the L line. 69th and Ludlow Streets. And just for a little history of it, guys, it opened in 1927. Strictly a, you know, play theater, movie theater sort of thing. Ran on hard times like a lot of these theaters did in the 70s. And they started doing rock concerts for the first time in the early 70s. A couple of famous concerts were there, Bowie Live and stuff. Capacity around 3,000, okay? I think it used to be in the 2,800 range. Somehow now it's more like 3,100. Anyhow, here's, you know, some of these old pictures I'm showing you. That tall sort of towering spire at the top of the front had to be removed about 5 years ago. I think structural issues and what have you. The venue's still alive and well. This is actually the venue I've been to the most. I've been to this place 20 times. Sign up on Setlist FM, guys, if you're not familiar with that cool site. That's why I signed up, and I have every concert I've ever been to in there, so I just know for myself. So it pointed out, I would have never known this, but that site points out things like that. Bands you've seen the most, venues you've been to the most. Now, of course, this was my first time there. So here's a picture of what the lobby looks like from the back of the theater where you walk in, looking towards the front doors. Now the merchandise, we're facing the front lobby. Merch was always hung on that wall to the left there, where it's black. Every concert I've been to, it's the same setup. That's a big wall of merch hanging up. So at that's where I got Ride the Lightning t-shirt. Just had the front cover on the front of the shirt. Maybe a dozen tour dates on the back, with Philly being one of them. And I think it said Philly. It didn't say Upper Darby. Always confusion with that. So shirt in hand, head on up to our seats up in the balcony. And guys, there were second row seats, you know, which was great. But here's what's crazy about it. There were only literally 2 other people up in the entire balcony. The balcony is like at least a third of the seats of this place, okay? There was 2 guys in the front row. And they were sitting like 3 or 4 seats apart. So I don't even think they were together. And then there was us 4 right behind them, sort of. I mean, it was early. I think we actually sat in our regular seats thinking that, you know, more people were going to come and fill everything in, right? So we went downstairs. I watched Armored Saint from downstairs. Now, my memories of this is that they played most of March of the Saint. And I think I knew this album really well by then. You know, I'd had it for months, played it 10, 12 times. And I feel like I heard 1 or 2 songs I didn't recognize. Really good, super solid. Fan reaction, pretty much what you'd expect from the reactions I got from people, you know, leading up to the show regarding Armored Saint. You know, more cheers, you know, but like not a real overwhelming positive reaction, but a couple of boos, but mostly people were pretty happy with them. And, you know, there was probably a good 50 people there that loved them like I did. So Now, if you go on Setlist FM, I mean, I don't know if this is right or not, but they do have another 3 or 4 shows that look like half-hour shows. And that's what's listed for Philly, 6 songs. I don't remember that. I remember them playing longer, like hearing most of March of the Saint and a couple other songs, like I said. So, but nonetheless, I mean, let's just, for argument's sake, Setlist FM's got it right. March of the Saint, Take a Turn, which I'm surprised they played that one. Think, like in hindsight, playing this heavy show and then pulling out their only sort of ballady type thing. False Alarm, Madhouse, Can You Deliver, and Seducer. I really couldn't tell you anything that they played based off my memory other than March of the Saint and Can You Deliver. My 2 favorites at the time. They definitely played those. I feel like they played longer, honestly. Now, the show started at 8 o'clock. That's pretty late for 3 bands, but it wasn't pretty uncommon at that point. You don't know if shows started any earlier than that back at this point, mid-80s. Nevertheless, is it possible they just did 6 songs? Maybe. I mean, it's, how long ago? Almost 40 years ago. But, anyway, I gave you what I think. So maybe Setlist FM isn't written in stone. It's people's memories and things like that. So I kind of disagree with the 6-song version. I feel like they played more like 40, 45 minutes. Anyway, they were really good, awesome opener. I was really into that album, so loved it. Now, W.A.S.P. Even though I wasn't the hugest fan in the world, they're definitely a band sort of made to be seen as much as heard. I knew that much back then. Visual band. They were great. I mean, super fun to watch. It didn't get me any more into their music than I already was, which I was, I'm fine with W.A.S.P. I like them. I don't love them. Obviously, I don't have anything from them still to this day. They played the entire first album. Excuse me. On Your Knees, Hellion, The Flame, Love Machine, Sleeping in the Fire, Tormentor, School Days, The Torture Never Stops. Somewhere around here, Blackie Lawless does Drinking the Blood from the Skull. Of course, that was like everyone's waiting for that, myself included, and does it. Cool. Do I Want to Be Somebody? That was on Metal Shop. And then, of course, Animal, F Like a Beast, right? Because you just got to end with that. So, that was a good, entertaining second band. This is a great show so far, man. Armored Saint, totally in them at the time. Ain't complaining about some W.A.S.P. So at some point here, now I'm like sort of on my own. I watched Armored Saint by myself for the most part. Downstairs, because you could walk downstairs. Downstairs has like a front section and then a back section. The back section's, it's divided by an aisle that goes from left to right, a wide aisle. That's where I watched Armored Saint. That's where I watched W.A.S.P. The guys I came with, I saw them coming and going. The front section was almost full. The back section, like I said, is actually bigger than the front, and that was completely empty, except for a handful, little pockets of people here and there. But so what I'm telling you is that I bet if I had to put a number on this attendance to this show, it was probably somewhere around 800. All right, because I've been to the Tower 20 times. I kind of have a feel for setup and estimating things like that. Front section wasn't even full. There were seats in there still, almost full though. So I was standing in that aisle right behind the first section. So anyway, so somehow I end up getting wind that there's people outside from the band hanging out. They had a side doors, which they still have to this day. It's like where you can go out and smoke out the side doors, sort of near where the merch is in the lobby. Go out the side, not towards the front, other street side of the venue. Go out there, tour bus. There's an area that's like, they have the gates up so you can be in the smoking area, whatever. So Armored Saint, a couple of guys from Armored Saint out there. I get an autograph from the drummer, Gonzo Sandoval. He signed my ticket. I'm such an amateur. I have no pen on me. He has a pen on him. Signs my ticket. I had it on my shelf in my room when I was a teenager. Long gone, unfortunately, but that was cool. So just getting to say hi to one of the actual dudes was pretty awesome. All right, so Metallica. Somehow we just all decide to go upstairs to watch Metallica. Back to our seats. Those two dudes that were up there were gone. It was literally just the four of us up there, this entire balcony. And like I said, the balcony was at least 30% of the seats of this place. Balcony's the place to be, by the way. I've sat downstairs multiple times. I choose to sit in the balcony, even though it's usually a little cheaper. It's got the best sound. The sound just filters up there at the tower better than downstairs. Sounds awesome. It was probably about 10:30 before the lights went down for Metallica to come on. Ecstasy of Gold tape, Ennio Morricone song, Into Fight Fire with Fire. Now, there's a couple of, I've got this bootleg album up there. I think that's from December of '84. Another bootleg in the Ride the Lightning box sets from March. So I like this set list better than those, Fade to Black's in March, There's something different about December, but I'll take this one, man. Fight Fire with Fire, right into Ride the Lightning, 1-2 punch, which, new album, so great double openers. Just awesome. Phantom Lord next. I'm not complaining about anything they want to play from Kill 'Em All, except maybe Motor Breath. Not a huge fan of that. Phantom Lord's great, though. Then Cliff in his full usual denim ensemble does Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. And what I liked about it was he did all the parts on the record, plus some others, It started like the record, then it went off in some different thing, then it came back to what the record does. Lars, I'm not sure if I remember Lars coming in. I think he did, but not when you thought he was going to. Comes in and starts drumming, doing part of it. These pictures I'm showing you, by the way, there's only two of them. They're actual pictures from the tower. So they were the only two I could find. Pretty cool, though, so I might show them a few times. Cliff's solo was awesome. It was like right in front of us. Now, I know, the balcony's not exactly right up on the stage. But I don't know if I was just so laser focused that my eyes were like acting like binoculars. I feel like I was 10 feet away from these guys. It was just great, man. I mean, we were front row, like hanging over the balcony's edge, so it was great. It was a little odd hearing Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth not go into Whiplash, but instead it went into For Whom the Bell Tolls, which I think to this day is still my favorite song from Ride. Killer. No Remorse next has always been one of my favorites from Kill 'Em All. Always in my top 3 from that album, along with probably Whiplash and Hit the Lights. And Seek and Destroy, so 4. Next one, Call of Cthulhu. They do the whole full, 8-9 minute song. Now that one I would have rather heard another song, or even 2 songs, because it's so long. Regular songs with singing. But it was okay to hear. It's kind of cool that they played it at this point. Not something they're going to play much, if ever again, right? Seek and Destroy's next. Come on. Killer. I think they might have did like a sing-along part for some of this. I can't swear to it, but I kind of remember that. If I had to say yes or no, I think they did. Whiplash next as an ender. Whips everyone a new asshole, basically. Encore, Creeping Death. Good solid version of that. And then I'm so glad they came out and did, because I was super into the Creeping Death EP. Am I Evil? Icing on the cake for an awesome show. Diamond Head cover, obviously. Was great. I remember us talking about it as we were leaving the place. And I remember saying, I wish they would have did like Blitzkrieg instead of Call of Cthulhu and something like that. But overall, awesome show. Killer show. One of the best I ever saw. I mean, what a triple lineup, And, basically another scary, freezing cold L ride home, bus ride home. Maybe one of the parents picked us up at the Frankfurt station. I don't really remember for sure. I don't remember taking the bus after that another hour plus L ride. Maybe we did. Who the hell knows? But I remember enough, I think, to do this episode. So, guys, if you can like and subscribe, we do cool shit like this all the time. We usually got a real drink. It's too damn early for that. I'll talk to you later.